Braveheart tells the story of William Wallace, a figure shaped by loss, oppression, and an unyielding refusal to live quietly under injustice. While the film is rooted in Scottish history, its most enduring moments are not about winning wars, but about choosing principle over fear. And this is where the story opens a conversation with Sikh thought. While the early foundations of the Sikh tradition take shape thousands of miles away, there is far more that unite these histories than separates them. Both emerge in moments of deep political pressure, both confront systems of tyranny, and both raise the same essential question: what defines a true warrior? In this video, I'll explore 5 key moments from Braveheart and place them alongside the Sikh experience, examining how each tradition understood resistance, sacrifice, and courage. Right at the beginning of the film, we are introduced to William Wallace, the protagonist of the movie. Not as a warrior, but as a child. He witnesses a brutal scene where members of his local village are killed. As his father prepares to leave and seek justice for those deaths, young Wallace asks to go along with him. It is a moment driven by emotion, instinct, and the raw desire to fight back. But his father's response sets a tone for the entire film. And this quote, he says, "But it's our wits that make us men." This line reframes resistance. In this scene, it's not as strength is being dismissed, rather it's just not treated as sufficient. What matters just as much, if not more, is discernment, judgment, and the ability to act without being ruled by rage. This idea resonates with Sikh thought. The warrior path of Sant Sipahi laid down by the Gurus has never been rooted in brute force alone. It is guided by strategy, restraint, and clarity. The goal is defense of dignity and justice without losing our center of who we are and what we stand for. What Wallace's dad called wit, the Gurus called Bibek Budhi, or discerning wisdom, which is the ability to tell when to act, how to act, and just as importantly, when not to act. And the Khalsa didn't get to learn this in comfort. A lot of times, these learning opportunities came from the battlefield. One example of this is by Sukha Singh and Mehtab Singh. After years of severe persecution under Zakriya Khan, the then Mughal governor of Lahore, Sikh Jathas were forced into forests and deserts, leaving the city of Amritsar largely abandoned of organized Khalsa presence. Control of the city fell into the hands of Mughal-aligned officials and local chiefs. Among them was Massa, a Chaudhry, or essentially a county power broker with state backing. He controlled local administration, revenue collection, and influenced policing and the empire's will on the ground level. Essentially, he was placed in charge of Amritsar. Massa turned Harmandir Sahib's complex into a place of open desecration. He drank alcohol, smoked hookah, and watched dancers inside the sacred premises. The Parikrama, once a space of devotion and humility, was used as a stable for his horses. What had been a spiritual center for Sikhs was deliberately reduced to a site of humiliation. News of this spread quickly among Sikhs living in the semi-exile places like Bikaner and Jaipur. The reports caused profound grief and outrage across the Pand. This was not merely political oppression. It was a direct assault on Sikh dignity and our sacred spaces. In Rajasthan, a Sikh Jatha gathered to discuss what was happening. When the details were fully laid out, Bhai Mehtab Singh stood up and declared that Massa Rangar's reign of desecration had to end. He offered to return from Amritsar with Massa Rangar's head as an offering to the Guru. Bhai Sukha Singh immediately volunteered to accompany him. This was not an impulsive act. The Jatha approved the mission, performed ardas for their success, and the two Singhs prepared a deliberate strategy. Their goal was clear: to stop the dishonoring of Harmandir Sahib. Disguised as village officials bringing land revenue, they entered Amritsar without raising suspicion. Guards allowed them through, assuming they came to pay Massa Rangar. Inside the complex, they tied their horses to a tree now remembered as Lachi Bedi. That tree still stands today, rooted in the Darbar Sahib's complex, a living witness to what unfolded next. Carrying bags filled with coins, the two Singhs approached Massa Rangar. As he bent down to inspect the weight of the bags, Bhai Mehtab Singh delivered a single decisive blow that severed his head. The head was placed into that bag and Bhai Sukha Singh guarded the doorway, and together they exited, mounting their horses and riding back to their awaiting Jatha. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Mughal authorities reacted with fury, launching an intense search to identify and capture the two Sikhs. Persecution of Sikhs in the region intensified, yet the message had already been delivered. Harmandir Sahib was not abandoned, and Sikh sovereignty was not extinguished. This line from the film really hits home in the Sakhi. It is truly our wits that make us men. Had Bhai Sukha Singh and Mehtab Singh not pressed their minds together to form this plan and strategy of entering Harmandir Sahib as village officials, this story may not have played out in the same way. Now, as the film moves forward, Wallace's understanding of resistance matures. Soon after the early lessons of his childhood, Wallace's world is shattered. In a clash with the English, raiders kill his father and brother, leaving him orphaned. Wallace is taken away by his uncle, who removes him from the cycle of immediate revenge and instead prepares him for a different kind of life. Under his uncle's care, Wallace is educated, trained, and exposed to a wider world. He becomes literate, multilingual, and skilled in arms, shaped not as a fighter, but as an intelligent individual. Years later, Wallace returns to his village with no intention of becoming a rebel. Instead, he wants a quiet life as a farmer to start a family grounded in work, land, and community. He reconnects with Moran, a woman he knew as a child, and imagines a future built on peace. Yet the political reality of Scotland makes even quiet life pretty fragile. King Longshanks has imposed brutal control over the region, including the practice of prima nocta, which allows English lords to claim Scottish brides on their wedding night. The law hangs over the community as a constant reminder that private life itself is subject to imperial power. To protect Moran, Wallace marries her in secret, away from the eyes of the English troops. It is an act of strategy. Rather than challenge authority directly, Wallace tries to use discretion and wisdom to carve out a dignified life beneath the unjust system.
I will love you my whole life. You and no other.
But that fragile peace does not last. English soldiers harass Moran in the village, and Wallace interferes, fighting them off. The English seize his wife publicly, accusing her of assault, and execute her by slitting her throat for all to see. The violence is deliberate and symbolic. It is meant to demonstrate power, to warn others, and to break Wallace completely. This type of public display really echoes accounts from the years of 1715 and 1716, when Mughal authorities used public execution to terrorize the Sikh population and humiliate the Khalsa. At that time, a warrior by the name of Banda Singh Bahadur was tasked by the Guru to avenge the Shaheediyan of the Sahibzade. Along his campaign, Banda Singh Bahadur and hundreds of Sikhs were captured in December of 1715. They then were marched toward Delhi, the capital of Mughal India, in chains. History describes a procession meant to overwhelm the senses. Hundreds of Sikh prisoners were forced to walk under guard. When the captives reached Delhi, the display only intensified. The captured Sikhs were imprisoned and offered a final choice: leave Dharam behind and bend your knee to empire. And to this, all refused. Their heads were added to spears and piles were put on display. Their bodies were left visible for hours, reinforcing the lesson the state wanted the population to absorb. A message stating that if you are a Sikh of the Guru, or even showing allegiance to the Guru, you will not survive. Accounts describe pyramids of heads stacked as city gates, hanging on walls, trees, and buildings, turning the city into a corridor of warning. This was carefully organized psychological warfare, aimed at breaking morale and erasing any form of allegiance that people may have had to the Guru's house. And at the center of this machinery of fear was Banda Singh Bahadur himself. He was kept alive in an iron cage and forced to witness the daily executions of his companions. He was made to see the growing ring of Sikh heads surrounding him. Even then, the pressure continued. On June of 1716, Baba Banda Singh Bahadur was tortured and executed in Delhi. Sources emphasize that before his death, he was forced to watch his 4-year-old son, Jagraj Singh, killed right in front of him, and then his heart placed in his father's mouth. He was again urged to renounce his faith and beg for mercy. he refused. The Mughal state used public execution to strip dignity and enforce submission. The Sikhs responded by denying the state its final victory. They did not allow fear to rewrite who they were. After seeing that Marin has now died at the hands of the English, there's no turning back for Wallace. He no longer believes that peace can exist without justice. He ambushes and kills the English soldiers responsible, and then leads the villagers in a full-scale attack on the local English soldiers. The magistrate is killed and the outpost has been destroyed. From here, Wallace's actions ripple outward. Raids spread, English positions fall, stories about him travel faster than armies. Commoners and clans begin to rally behind Wallace. Wallace's victories and moral force make him the leader of a growing insurgent movement. And the English respond by sending a larger, more disciplined army to crush the rebellion. The two sides meet near Stirling. Scottish nobles who are here to help Wallace arrive with troops, but they are divided and uncertain. Many ordinary soldiers, seeing the size and organization of the English force, consider fleeing so they can live. It is here that Wallace rides out to address them. Some mistake him for a legend, repeating rumors that William Wallace is a giant of a myth. And when he reveals himself, he speaks not as a commander demanding loyalty, but as a man asking a question. What will you do with the freedom you still have? When one soldier says they will run and live, Wallace answers with words that define the moral heart of Braveheart.
Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. Would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
In this moment, Wallace reframes the conflict entirely. The choice is no longer between life and death. It is between living with integrity and surviving without it. And that distinction sets the stage for everything that follows. This scene parallels the stand taken in the 18th century by someone named Bhai Tara Singh Wang, and ultimately his Shaheedi. The events that led to the Shaheedi of Bhai Tara Singh began long before the battlefield. He was known as a disciplined and fearless Sikh. His life was entirely rooted in seva and leadership. The conflict began in a nearby region where a local feudal chief named Sahib Chaudhry allowed his horses to graze freely on the crops of Sikh farmers, destroying their livelihood. And when the farmers protested, he did not respond with justice. Instead, Sahib mocked them and threatened to shave their heads to make reins for his horses. It was not just an insult, it was an attempt to humiliate. The farmers refused to accept this injustice. They seized the horses and brought them to a Bhai Lakhmir Singh, who sold them and donated the money to a langar operated by Tara Singh in the village of Wang. When Sahib traced the matter back to Tara Singh, he demanded the return of the horses or the surrender of those responsible. Tara Singh refused. He declared that the farmers had acted justly and that he would not hand them over. He also made it clear that he did not fear the authorities in Lahore. The situation escalated quickly. Officials were sent to arrest Tara Singh. During the first confrontation, a Singh named Baghel Singh stepped forward alone to challenge the advancing troops. He fought with remarkable courage, killing the ruler's nephew before being fatally wounded. Eventually, the troops withdrew and appealed to Khan Bahadur, the Nawab of Lahore. They wanted greater military support to attack Tara Singh and his companions. The Nawab responded by dispatching a powerful army of over 2,000 horsemen, along with artillery and elephants. It is here when messengers rushed to warn Tara Singh. Friends urged him to flee into the forests and avoid certain death, but he refused. Instead, he spoke the line to Guru Gobind Singh. Jo kaho kaal te bhaj ke bachiyat, to kahe kunt kaho bhaj Aage hu kaal tare asgajat, chhajat hai jahe te nas aiye. He declared that death is around the corner anyways, and he'd rather die than live the stain of cowardice. These lines of Guru Gobind Singh really echo the quote from Wallace: fight and you may die, run and you will live, at least a while. Both warriors looked death in the eye and chose to die with dignity, rather than live with the stain of cowardice. Bhai Singh allowed anyone who did not wish to fight to leave freely. Only 22 Singhs remained by his side. The final battle unfolded through the night and into the early hours of dawn. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Singhs fought with discipline and extraordinary skill. They held their ground against waves of advancing soldiers. As daylight broke, the Mughal forces shifted tactics. Unable to overpower them in close combat, they resorted to firing muskets from a distance. One by one, the remaining Singhs fell. Bhai Singh and his 22 companions attained Shaheedi that morning. Their heads were severed and carried away by the Mughal forces as a display of authority. But what the empire intended as intimidation became testimony. Their stand was about refusing to surrender principle. And in that battle, Bhai Singh and the other 22 Singhs won.
William Wallace, you stand in taint of high treason.
Against whom?
Against your king.
Near the end of Braveheart, William Wallace is no longer a battlefield leader or a symbol of rebellion in motion. He is now imprisoned in London, condemned for treason and evading execution. Princess Isabella visits Wallace in his cell and urges him to save himself. She explains that if he confesses and swears allegiance to the English king, his life may be spared. He might live on, perhaps confined to a tower, but alive nonetheless. It is an offer framed as mercy, but one that demands a final surrender of conscience. Wallace refuses. He explains that if he swears loyalty to the king, then all that he is would already be dead. It is in this exchange that he says,
Every man dies. Not every man really lives.
This line really highlights Sikh ideals of Shaheedi. In Sikh thought, integrity is not negotiable. Dignity cannot be postponed to a later time or redeemed after compromise. Here, the story of the Sahibzade really comes to mind. In the year of 1704, Anandpur Sahib was attacked, after which the Guru leaves Anandpur with his family and all the residents of Anandpur Sahib. At which point they crossed the flooded Sarsa river, and it is here the Guru's family was separated. The two young Sahibzade, only around 7 and 9 years old, were left in the care of a former servant who later betrayed them to the Mughal authorities at Sirhind. They were imprisoned and held as officials debated their fate. The local governor, Wazir Khan, summoned the Sahibzade to his court. Much like William was, they were also offered wealth, safety, and status if they abandoned Sikhi and accepted Islam. The offer was simple: survive by surrendering who you are. Both Sahibzade refused. Over several days, they were threatened and pressured and physically abused. Yet they did not renounce their faith, nor did they speak against their father, Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Finally, Wazir Khan ordered their execution. The Sahibzade were sentenced to be bricked alive into a wall. As the wall rose around them, the Sahibzade stood reciting God's name. When the wall failed to kill them, they were executed by having their throats cut, completing their martyrdom at Sirhind. Today, the Sahibzade are remembered around the world for honoring their courage. The story of the Sahibzade and William Wallace have this in common. They show us that to abandon truth in order to preserve the body is true death, and something true warriors will never accept.
I'm so afraid.
Now moving on to our final key moment. After Princess Isabella leaves his cell in tears, William Wallace is now alone. The political negotiations are over, there are no armies, no allies, and no speeches left to give. There is only the guarantee of execution. The guards enter and bind him, preparing him for public death. And for the first time in the film, Wallace is stripped of movement and control. He does not posture or pretend, he faces what is coming. In his cell, he whispers, "I am afraid." His voice trembles, but it is sincere. The film does not present him as fearless. It presents him as a human. He has seen violence and loss. He understands the brutality that awaits him. Then he adds, "Give me strength to die well." This line reframes the whole moment entirely. Wallace is not asking to survive. He is asking to remain intact to his principles and ideals. To die well means to meet death without surrendering conviction. It means that even if the body is broken, the will remains unbroken. This really sounds like a ardas that we are taught to do as Sikhs, which is from the Chaupai Sahib. Aap haath teh mujhe abari hai, maran kaal ka tras ne bari hai. O Creator, with your own hands protect me and relieve me from the fear of death. This Bani is written by Guru Gobind Singh, who himself experienced 14 battles. And he's teaching his Sikhs that Sikho, when you go out into the world and you face injustice, you face falsehood, you too might be scared. But you can ask for support from the Creator, from Akal Purkh, to remove your worries, to remove the fear of death. And where we're taught to ask God to take away the fear of death, we're also taught to ask to die on the battlefield an honorable death, as seen from this Shabad at the end of Chandi Charitar. Deh Shiva par moh hai, shubh karman te kabhu na daron ar so jab jaye laron, nischay kar apni jeet karon. Ar Sikh ho apne hi man ko eh lalach ho, गुरतों उच्चरों जब आव की ओद निदान बने अतहीरन में तब जूझ मरो. Hey Akal Purkh Vaheguru, oh God, I ask for this blessing. May I never refrain from doing the right thing. May I never be fearful to do the right thing. And when the end of my life comes, may I die fighting on the battlefield. These words of Guru Gobind Singh really show us that not only is he teaching his Sikhs to pray in this way, but the Guru himself is asking for this boon. As we move forward in the film, we see Wallace is dragged through the streets on a wooden cart toward the execution square. Crowds gather on both sides. Some mock him, others look shaken. The empire intends this to be a spectacle of humiliation. It is meant to demonstrate that rebellion always ends in this way. On the platform, English officials announce his crimes and sentence him to be hanged. The punishment is meant not only to kill him, but to crush his dignity in public view. He is hanged until nearly unconscious, then cut down and laid out for further torture. As the torment continues, the crowd begins to change. Murmurs rise into shouts. Ordinary people begin calling for mercy. The spectacle that was designed to reinforce power instead exposes cruelty. The magistrate leans in and offers Wallace a final escape. If he cries out for mercy, he will be granted a quicker death. One word of submission will end the suffering. Wallace is barely able to speak, he's weak and blooded. The executor waits for him to yield, the officials expect surrender. Instead, when Wallace does speak with the last strength left in his body, he draws breath and shouts a single word. It is declaration. At that moment, the execution loses its intended meaning. The state takes his life, but it does not take his voice. The man who admitted fear chooses to face death without abandoning what he stood for. His final act transforms punishment into testimony. His body falls, but his meaning remains. This scene has always stayed with me. It gives a glimpse into what it might have meant for the Shaheeds of the Sikh Band to face their final moments. When Wallace whispers that he is afraid and then asks for strength to die well, it humanizes courage. It shows that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear dictate one's integrity. When I think about that moment, I cannot help but reflect on countless figures like Bhai Taru Singh, Bhai Dayala Ji, Bhai Mani Singh Ji. These were not mythical figures immune to pain. They were human beings who were offered the same bargain Wallace was offered. They were told that their lives could be spared if they would compromise their convictions, and each of them refused. What unites these Shaheeds across centuries and traditions is not culture or geography, it is integrity. It is the refusal to trade truth for survival. It is the understanding that a body can be destroyed, but a principle cannot be surrendered without losing oneself. Living in its fullest sense means remaining faithful to truth even when the cost is everything. It means that dignity is not something granted by power, but something chosen internally, whether in medieval Scotland or in the history of the Sikh Band. The pattern is so similar. Oppression attempts to break the body, integrity preserves the soul. Sikhi has always taught us to look beyond labels. It invites us to see that humanity is ultimately divided not by religion, nation, or language, but by the alignment with truth or falsehood. The Shaheeds remind us that truth is not abstract. It demands something of us. It asks for courage, clarity, and sometimes sacrifice. My hope is that when we watch scenes like this, we do not simply admire them as cinematic drama. Instead, we allow them to question us. When fear confronts us in our own lives, in whatever form it appears, may we choose truth over comfort. May we choose integrity over convenience. And may we always remember that to truly live is to remain faithful to what is right, no matter the cost. If you're still here, I thank you so much for watching. It would really mean a lot to me if you can like this video and share it with someone else. You never know who might hear these stories and get inspired to follow the truth. And if there's anything you really liked or you would like to see done better, please comment down below. That's all for now. Until next time.